Hey, what's going on? My name is Mick, and I'm posting my day trading journey right here to YouTube with complete transparency. And holy shit, today was an absolute bonkers move. If you did any trading today, this week was non-farm payroll week, and I didn't really know what to expect going into today, but it was an absolute roller coaster. I mean, starting off at 8:30 this morning with this ridiculous, I want to say this is like a 1 minute candle too this morning. Yeah, just this is a massive 1 minute candle here. But just kind of hard to predict. This week's just kind of up and down and crazy. But today, just absolutely ridiculous. And really hard to trade this. I took one trade today. I was in the green. And what was really crazy about this was I actually got my green trade, my win today, going against this large bull move. So, which was kind of crazy. Uh, in hindsight, I'm kind of lucky it played out the way it did. It was still a really quick scalp, got in, got out fairly quickly. I'll go over that in just a minute. But really just wanted to talk about this, which is, you know, I really would have liked to have traded with this. I'm going to throw on a lot of my supply and demand zones that I've been working with here just to kind of put a couple of these things into perspective. Um, what I'm This is the 15-minute time frame, and I had a couple of supply and demand zones, really important. A lot of supply up around this area and kind of like the low 15,000s. A lot of supply to contend with, and you can see the past like week or so we've been rejecting consistently off of this area, but also at the same time we still we're bouncing a lot of demand down here. So we didn't really break a new higher time frame lower low. We had these kind of like relative equal lows here. So interestingly enough, I've been saying that we're in a higher time frame downtrend, and it still feels like that. Maybe not after today, but what I was looking for is just to keep following the trend. So recently, I've just been trading these supply zones short, following the downtrend. But after today, it's having me start to reevaluate my trading plan going forward. As we've now broken above the high that this supply zone here at like 15,100 back from September 21st. And this is starting to look a lot more bullish. We can look on a higher time frame just to see, I'm sure on the 4 hour we're still kind of in a downtrend, but things may be changing here, and we'll see. But this move today was absolutely ridiculous. Really hard to predict, and especially hard to get in on any move. There was no really, the only move that I can think of was this demand zone right here, or this order block, or whatever you want to call it, order block, demand zone, from a couple of days ago. This was actually marked on the 1 hour time frame, and this bounce was just perfect off of this demand zone. Worked really well. If you didn't get in there to catch the entire move, there was really nothing. I can move down to the 5 minute here. Um, Really no entry, I guess, if you were feeling pretty bullish this morning. Let me remove this here. This morning, if you were feeling pretty bullish, we did have this kind of like opening range here that didn't really do much. My assumption was that I was trying to kind of work out a little bit of the kinks from this big move in the pre-market. But I wasn't taking any trades here. What I was really waiting for was some sort of break of the larger range that we've been dealing with lately. So I was looking at this overnight low, and I was looking at this low right here, hopefully to play some sort of continuation if it broke on the low side, just because on the high side we had been respecting these areas of supply so much. So again, I was keeping an eye on the edges, trying to stay out of the middle and getting chopped up. So really, unless you were willing to enter down here, maybe off of one of these fair value gaps, or you were feeling particularly bullish today, maybe this would have been a great entry here. Aside from that, after the thing exploded around like 10 o'clock, not really a decent entry. This isn't, in my book, none of this doesn't look like a good play, a good pullback. This doesn't really look like a good pullback. Just really hard to read. I don't see any significant like intraday 5 minute or 15-minute pullback. I wouldn't even consider this a pullback really. Once we broke above yesterday's high of day and this overnight low here, there was no test of this supply zone or even these fair value gaps or yesterday's high of day. No test. It just kept going and it just took off all day. So I don't have any sort of FOMO. I'm, obviously it's still an absurd move overall, but I'm not upset. But the crazy part is, before this second part of this move happened, what I was keeping an eye on was this supply zone here. So ignore the second half of this move just for a moment to put yourself in my shoes. I didn't play this opening range. It broke to the upside. And what I'm basing my trade on, like I said previously, is I'm basing my trade off of a higher time frame downtrend. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for price to trade into a supply zone, give me some sort of indication that it's going to be respected, and then I'm going to try to find a short entry. And that's what I did here. And I'm going to go down to the 1 minute time frame just to get a better picture of what this looked like for my trade. It was a pretty quick trade overall. So here's the 8:30 news this morning. Here's the opening range. I drew a couple of things here. The opening range break here. And so again, what I'm keeping an eye on, that overhead supply that I was looking at. And as we approach this overhead supply, we kind of consolidated prior to it, which, in hindsight, that's probably not great, not what you want to see. But when I entered here, let me get in a little bit closer. So as we entered the supply zone, we had a large green candle. We had a nice wick above here, a decent sized candle here. And I entered short really right here. As you can see, I had a pretty decent stop loss. It was basically right at the high that it just made here in the supply zone. And I wanted to be patient, but a couple of things that I've been doing lately, I have been scalping because I'm still dealing with this evaluation for Apex. So I'm trying to keep things pretty short and not hold too long. In hindsight, I'm glad I did, because it turned around fairly quickly and it would have stopped me out after just like 10 minutes or so. But I had my stop here. My target was 18,846, and it was the bottom side of this fair value gap. Just because there were so many that it blew through, I was anticipating a pretty significant drop out of this supply zone. But things started to slow down here. I was actually pretty unsure about the speed here. Like I said, I was expecting a pretty fast move out of this supply zone. Usually that, in my book, that indicates a decent, well-respected supply zone. In this particular case, I did not get the speed and kind of the volatility out of that supply zone that I was anticipating, and that's actually where I exited. So right about here, I exited, took a small small position, made about $140 today. Yeah, $140 today. Kept it fairly simple. One trade, 5 MNQ contracts. And I just, looking back on today, this strength right here, things I could have done better. Obviously, I am taking in higher time frame considerations, which is important. But you also can't ignore this right here. This strength, after this opening range breakout, this is obvious strength. And the consolidation just low of it. These are all pretty much indications that, it's the supply zone is not going to get respected. So in hindsight, still have my higher time frame, confirmation, which is fantastic, but still be a little bit more cognizant of the intraday clues that I'm getting, right? This strength is super important. And then maybe just not take that trade and maybe look for an entry long. Again, I'm not going to take an entry long here because I'm not going to be really, let me zoom out. I don't want to be long really until we break all of this supply up here. So basically what I was saying is like 15,100, really. If we broke that, then I can start to be bullish in general, maybe on a midterm to a higher time frame. But I cannot stomach the idea of longing right below all of the supply up here. Yes, longs down here would have made a little bit more sense, but just my trade today, it was the short here. the short at supply. So I'm not upset with myself, but maybe just be a little bit more aware of the strength going into your trade, and then maybe just not take a trade at all. Interestingly, though, this move was just so ridiculous. I mean, absolutely, absolutely bonkers. This was my trade here. You could have taken long here. Like I said, don't want to be longing into supply, but here's what I was thinking. Maybe after we broke supply, look for some sort of pullback, because once you break through these significant levels of supply, I mean, there's not much you're dealing with on the way back up. And I mean, this strength is just seems super obvious to me that we now are trying to go up on a higher time frame here. So again, lucky to be green. It's Friday going into the weekend. Don't need to overcomplicate things. But very interesting day. Just absolute ridiculous move, and just kept it simple. And I didn't, up here, I'm not gonna long off of not getting a pullback, or not getting a significant pullback at least, and just not gonna chase. So I'm proud of myself for getting out of a position that wasn't really going my way, and cut my winner short before I get stopped out. But also I'm proud of myself for not chasing this I don't want to say overextended, chasing this huge move with no considerable pullback for entries. So I'm pretty happy with myself overall, but I still can't get over this this day. For the lucky people who, like I had mentioned earlier, had gotten in or looked at this demand zone right here from the hourly time frame, Godspeed. That was awesome. But otherwise, it just seems like a super untradeable day for anybody other than the people who actually moved the market and maybe made this move happen. So that's all I've got for you on this Friday. See you guys next time. Peace.